everyone. Thank you all for tuning in to the Nexus eSports. This is the episode ending the week of September 7th, 2014. I want to thank everyone for coming. And with me today, we have Ben Blazik. What's going on, man?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Ready to dive into some action. Let's go.
And with us as well is Brandon Garrison. What's going on, man?
Hey, guys. Ready to talk about these crazy games this week?
Yeah, it was a fun week. A lot of games, and actually some extra news outside of just the. Oh man, I just went to the wrong. Here we go. Let me go to the correct overlay here. So like I was saying, there was some extra news other than just through the matches in ESC. We'll probably hit that first, and then we'll go on to kind of what we saw this week in Heroes Esports. So let's go ahead and start with the Hero Premier League, brought to you by the NexusChamp.com. They've kind of got up some more teams, kind of officially announced some matches. It looks like they're going to be starting up September 18th, and then both North America and Europe League. Ben, why don't you kind of give a quick rundown of what we're going to see in the North America portion of that league?
Oh, seeing how you're making fun of me doing this earlier, that's the Mason League, right?
Yes. And the Dixon, because they're both North America.
So part of the Mason League, we're going to see some familiar faces from the ECS. We are going to see Team Glorious, headed by ZP's Team Snowflake with Idra, ESV Tempest, Team Blame Game, Resurgence, and 2 Arcs from ESC as well.
Mm-hmm. And then for the Dixon League, Brandon, or I should say Dixon Conference. Who are we going to see in that conference?
Well, we're also going to see some familiar faces again. Some Symbiote Gaming, ESV Wildfire Descent, Team QQ, Team No Breaks, and Clairvoyant Gaming.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm definitely excited to kind of see some extra teams out there, other than the ones that we are seeing in the SC already, so I'm glad they brought in those extra teams. Otherwise, it would really just be a repeat of the same league. And I think that would be a little boring. They might flip up the divisions a little bit, but in the long run, pretty much the same thing. It's a repeat.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Even though we're still in this extremely, extremely early phase of esports with this game, now that we're actually trying to get it done and do something with it, we need to bring more teams in. We don't really know what the pro level is going to look like for this game yet, so getting as many people as involved right now to figure that out would be great. The only team that I'm not seeing on there is Dirty Money Musclin', No Little Baby Hustlin'. I don't know why they're not in that lineup, but I guess we're going to have to talk to somebody to figure that one out.
Yeah. I'm still confused on what team that is. I assume that's the team I'm a part of, but
see, it's right there in the show notes.
Yeah. Every time I talk to Brandon, I hear another name, and every time I talk to you, there's another name. So I'm not quite sure what to expect at this point.
I'm drinking. I love me some chicken wings, but I don't know if we should name our team after chicken wings or not.
Well, I think you're probably right.
Now, in terms of how the league can be kind of run, each team will play every other team in their own conference, as well as 2 teams from the opposing conference, which means that the season could be 7 games long. Top 4 teams each move on to the postseason in a single elimination tournament with a bronze matchup, so you actually know who comes in first, second, and third. I'm hoping, that there wasn't details, but I'm hoping when you get into the tournament end of it, best of 3s, best of 5s for the championship, stuff like that will occur. So, it's exciting to kind of see what they'll be doing as well. Now, they're also putting out the EU League. Now, a quick rundown of the teams that will be in the EU League are Team Empire, Team Prism, Mouse eSports, I2Hard, Team IKEA, Lotus Storming, and Playing with Pain is Pain. Now, of all the teams in any of the leagues, 2 names definitely stick out to me in this league is Team Empire and Mouse eSports. Those are both kind of teams that StarCraft professionals are playing in currently, and in the past. So it'll be pretty cool to kind of see that. I think it's the first really pro team, like the full pro teams, kind of getting into the Heroes mix at this point. Because we don't see like a Team Liquid or an official EG team out there yet.
Now, see, what's curious though is so we see these guys right now. Where's the Curse team?
Yeah.
Because they made that official article on their site about, hey, we're going to have a Heroes team. These are the guys, and they already started labeling positions that aren't even in the game yet. I mean, these are the 2 starting leagues. Why aren't they part of it?
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think we all expected Curse to be a part of ECS when we first heard, ECS is starting up. And then once HPL, I'm like, Curse has got to be in here now, and there's still nothing to be seen. I mean, they were the first, I'm not sure if the official eSports team out there. I saw that kind of the blog post from them before I saw any other post about official teams. I don't
know if we'd say it's the first team, but it was like the first big backed team to make an official article announcement.
Could this be because it's not Blizzard sanctioned, these first few competitions?
At that point, though, why would you hold yourself back at that point? Because, I mean, I'd say, like, even though, again, going back to what I said a couple minutes ago, we don't have any real official listing of who is a pro what, Like, Curse can assemble their team, but it doesn't mean that they're a professional team. Like, they could play and fall flat on their faces and, be like, I'm going to compare this to paintball because I came from tournament paintball. Division 1 was, like, right before pro, and Division 3 is lower than Division 1. They could turn out to be like a Division 3 team. And all the guys that are playing right now are Division 1.
Yeah, so they could definitely embarrass themselves or do something of that nature.
So I'd say get in as much league experience as you can right now because, I mean, until you get into that official environment, you really, truly do not know what you're capable of because random queuing and the draft channel scrimming doesn't really give you an exact measure of who you are and where you need to be.
Oh, for sure. And, it's you want to get your name out there, too, as one of the first esports teams, when everything gets comes down to it. Even, like, if they do end up doing something at BlizzCon, which at this point I'm not even sure if they're going to, because when you look at the list, it doesn't actually say Heroes anymore, even though the initial announcement said there was Heroes, so I don't know if they've changed their minds. But why wouldn't you want to be, in the first official, Heroes of the Storm at BlizzCon?
Yeah.
And they're going to pull from these teams, the teams that are actually in these leagues, whether or not they're Blizzard sanctioned or not, I believe.
How do you feel about that, them not officially announcing something yet?
I mean, it's games in technical alpha, they could have thought that they were going to have custom maps up in time because they want to run it that way. And if they don't have custom maps up and ready to be tested, I don't think they're going to go forward with it. So they're not going to push a tournament there.
They don't necessarily need custom matches.
Right, we know they don't need them, but I don't think Blizzard's going to do the whole play from replay. You know what I'm saying? Live.
For one, okay, we know that functionality is in the game. It's just turned off because it was in the Blizzard build last year. They did it live in front of all of us.
Yep.
So they could easily turn on the custom game, turn on the spectator mode, put it in there, test it a couple days beforehand, and make sure it's good to go. That's not like doing something that along those lines is not a massive leap. So they could easily just put it in there really fast to make the matches happen. If they're worried about balance issues to technical alpha, let's just have a tournament for fun and bragging rights. Don't put any money on the line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. We want people to play and people to see it at the highest level that's out there.
Yeah, I agree. I'll be disappointed if there's not one.
Agreed. We'll be standing there rioting. At least I will be, because I want to see an eSports showing, and I'm going to be drinking. So
I want to see what Blizzard does with this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm not saying I don't want to see it. I'm just saying they haven't officially announced they were getting awfully close. I think we'd start hearing about teams that are being invited to play.
And
we haven't heard about the WoW teams yet either. They still have not. Have we? Did we get that?
They have the qualifiers at least announced, if not the teams specifically. They have definitely StarCraft. We know people who are going, and we know a bunch. They've been really pushing the Hearthstone people over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, like really making the official announcements with those. So I feel like now's the time to announce what's going on.
Just a great time to be in esports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we'll move right into our ESC coverage, and we'll start off by kind of talking about the standings after this week. Kind of what were surprises, what was expected. Let's start with the Division 1. I believe Ben, what do you think of the Division 1 standings just as overall after compared to last week?
Well, Division 1 compared to Division 2, I won't give anything away for Division 2, but completely surprising results. I'm a little shocked in the way that things played out. Right now, we're sitting at Snowflake 3-2, Glorious 3-2, ESV Wildfire 3-2, and Descent 1-4. Now, I talked about Glorious was definitely going to come out hungry, and they were going to try to come back in, proving that they can play better than what they did the week 1. They definitely did that. ESV Wildfire playing back and forth a little bit. They had a really interesting game against Snowflake. Snowflake, in my opinion, came out a little flat, but it's kind of hard to. And I guess I want to say I'm a little disappointed, but it's kind of hard to say what was going through their minds exactly. Things probably didn't go their way with picks, and there was some interesting games to be had, I'll say that. But I definitely expected them to do a lot better than before. And Descent right now, definitely sitting at the bottom of the barrel, and not as bad as 2 Arcs right now, but which is in Division 2, but Descent definitely needs to pick it back up. I mean, it's still really early, but the first 3 weeks of this whole tournament series really kind of sets the pace for the remainder of the season, and it really kind of gets in everybody's heads as far as how they're playing their mental game. At least to me, that's how I've always felt competition works. So I really think Descent needs to kind of step it up and come back in, because right now sitting at 1-4, it's not looking too good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's kind of talk about Snowflake for a little bit. They were 3-0 going into this week. They're 3-2 now, tied for the top of the division now with Glorious and ESV Wildfire. Why don't we take a minute to kind of talk about the Wildfire game first, and what you think went wrong for Snowflake, other than, like you said, coming out just flat?
Well, for one, this is definitely one of the games of the week.
Right. No, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is one of the longest matches that we've seen, and one of the most intense. I had so many thoughts when looking at this game. I mean, at first you think when you're watching it, it starts to go one side, and then it kind of looks like it's someone's gonna close it out early, and it's just both teams after massive team fights. You would think that after one capitalizes, they would be able to push across the map and just end it, and that just wasn't the case at all. There was so much good defensive play, so many good fights over mercs where they're just waiting to engage on top of merc camps 5v5, and you had guys pushing into their one of the other team's cores at any one given time. They're still ignoring those lanes, and they're all just sitting on top of the merc waiting for the merc to come up, and then they're poking back and forth on top of each other. Snowflake throwing a couple of hits in, Wildfire throwing a couple of hits in, and then they're finally getting the big engage on top of mercs, and this happened multiple times throughout the match. But even with those mercs, it still didn't close out that early. And then going back, I mean, I forget, what was the guy's name? Plume or Poom or?
Poom, yep.
Poom. Okay. Dude on defense with the terror was incredible. I mean, so many times.
Wasn't that crazy? Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So many times where terrors were coming up, just use a purely defensive manner to keep this match from ending. I don't want to say too early. It definitely went a long time. It was 40-something minutes. It was a crazy
44
match.
minutes.
That is absolutely unreal for at least this game. We haven't seen matches go that too long. So it was very entertaining from a spectator point of view. You could tell the casters were kind of getting bored at one point or another, and there were so many stalemates they didn't quite know what to talk about. But especially towards the end when Wildfire pulls a terror, and then a little bit after that, Snowflake pulls a terror to kind of counter that terror, and then Wildfire gets enough seeds to pull another terror after that, and as soon as Snowflake's terror is up, Wildfire pulls the last terror to counter the second terror. And then so they're playing it defensively, and then they finally make an offensive push to go for the core and just kind of close it out. I actually thought for a little while Snowflake was going to pull it out. They were going to be able to kind of battle back through everything and kind of get in one last hit. But Wildfire definitely stepped up and proved that they had some game, and they definitely showed some crazy initiative with the terror defense. It's not my favorite map for a long engagement to go on. I'd like to see a longer fight take place on Dragonshire or something, but for what it was a really entertaining episode.
Now,
Yeah. And sorry, Adam. Tell me if I'm wrong, but have you guys noticed a switch in the meta on that map to where you kind of just build up your seeds and then you wait and wait and wait and wait until the end of the game to be able to spawn your terror and just go for the win?
Correct, absolutely. That's what's taking place now. It's nobody's really going for the early game pushes because it's not worth it. You can nuke down one of the terrorists pretty quickly early game. I don't know how I feel exactly about the late game damage. I understand the health, but the late game damage is unreal. That dude was smacking the heroes for like 1/3 their health, and it was incredible.
Oh yeah, it was a crazy defense, which was really cool to see. I completely agree that it's a little bit overpowered in the end, though. Yeah.
I'd say if I had to pick a couple things that helped Wildfire really win this game. First off, I really felt like they drafted against Snowflake better than anybody else did before. They started off by banning Brightwing, who Snowflake has had Brightwing, all 3 of their other victories. They picked Tychus first, another one that Snowflake made sure to grab, in terms of, just kind of hero comp. So right there, you're looking 2 heroes that I think were a part of every team makeup from the previous week, not even available to them. Add that now they are 2 players different than the week before. They have Liquid Sheth on their on their team, and of course I can't remember off the top of my head who the other person was. Do you remember who Sheth and I'm trying to think of who the other kind of switch out this week was. Faye. So and Faye, they didn't have Faye the week prior. So they had 2 new players. Much better drafted, I think, against them. I think that kind of set ESV Wildfire into a position to defeat them. If we look at if the same thing happened as last week, where they got the same drafts that they wanted, and on top of that had the same 2 players, full 5s team, I don't think it would have been as close. Maybe, possibly, but you don't know. I mean, ESV Wildfires is a good team, and I did predict them last week to be the first team to beat Snowflake. I just want to point that one out.
Yeah.
But I think, obviously a couple of things kind of led into that. Not to take anything away from Wildfire, but they definitely drafted well, which is all them, and a couple of changes in team, from week to week can really make a big difference.
No, absolutely. Wildfire, again, it is a good team. I'm not going to slap them down or anything like that. They definitely deserve their victory. But I definitely think changing out the roster on Snowflake definitely played a huge role. It doesn't matter what game or what sport you play. If you make any especially in something as small as like a 5-man team, when we used to play 7-man paintball, it was almost like chess with guns. If you took 9 people to a tournament, or no, let's say 10 people to a tournament, and you wanted to rotate 3 people out, you're essentially taking half the people off your team. And you just can't do stuff like that. Like, you take 1 rotator at max, just as a backup, just in case. So any sport, any game, when you rotate 2 people like that, you are killing the chemistry of your team and what you know from the last week. So
especially if you've gotten to know how your teammates play, and then you switch them out with somebody else, and they play completely different. It's gonna definitely make a definite difference.
And then might as well just kind of go right into it and talk that Glorious was able to beat Snowflake this week as well. I think very much the same reasons. They banned Brightwing first, just like Wildfire did. They took Arthas, who would be kind of a second choice, I feel like, for Snowflake after the couple weeks, seeing as they do like Tychus a little more. And they picked Kerrigan. And on top of that, Kerrigan was played by Galrong, who was on Team Snowflake the week before. So I think that set up Glorious for be able to take off Snowflake. You have you literally bring their teammate over to your team. You're going to have an inside track on what's going on.
Absolutely, dude. You had a card in your sleeve during that whole period. Again, Glorious is a good team. They have good players. They play well, but I definitely think pulling him was an upper hand in that scenario. Between that and the new players, I feel like Snowflake was a little bit set up to fail. I was hoping they were going to prevail, just because I know Idris is a great player, and he's very capable of analyzing all the situations and going into it and trying to figure things out. But I guess I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But next week's a new week, so we'll definitely see what happens there. One thing, I don't know if I should say this or not, but when watching the games, I don't like watching the games when one of the players casts their own game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
Yep. No. I think I agree with you 100%. I think we've talked about that a couple times. I think they're still pulling for casters, and in the near future we're gonna see less of it.
Yeah, and let's get into this because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to bring some player in to help tell the story of a game. I don't think a caster should be replaced to do that though. I think there should be 3 people.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't if I remember this correctly, but I think they did it because they were shorthanded and they needed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand that, but I think you need to do it is everything in your power to make it so that way a player is not casting their own game.
Yeah.
It's just like ZP said he went into unbiased mode when casting the match, but there were a couple points where he didn't do the whole match, but there were a couple times where you could tell he was giving a very biased like critical thinking of like a team fight and stuff like that. So I didn't like that. I feel like there are other places you could have pulled from last minute and hit people up on Twitter for it, but do what you got to do.
And that's another thing. I mean, Glorious picked up ZP this week. I mean, that's a huge pickup. With Excelsior not in there, they were able to take ZPs with them. That's just a whole nother reason why, I think Glorious came back a little stronger. They picked up Galrong and ZPs as two big changes.
Yeah.
What's the look for?
I don't know if I heard you correctly.
Glorious picked up Galrong. I'm never going to say that name right. It's completely off in my head. And ZPs.
ZPs was on Glorious last week.
Was he?
Yes.
Why am I?
Because that's the team he's been on the whole time.
Then I just completely messed up the teams then. I'm sorry.
You did. I just wanted to make sure
you made me agree with you, dude.
No. Definitely tell me when I'm wrong.
It's all right. The guy who's drinking on the show is right.
Yes. No, you're right. Oh, you know what it was
that.
is I'm messing up players. Supra is off the team this week. I'm just mixing up people. Sorry. All these changes because Supra, was replaced by Galrong. Sorry. ZP. Sorry. Okay, so then we also had Glorious played against Descent, which is actually the team Super went to, and Nick from Excelsior is on Descent. That's the change I was thinking about. Does that make sense, Ben?
It's better.
It's better.
So, it's better. It's better.
Hey, there were a lot of. I feel like there were a lot of change-ups of the teams kind of this week, so it's trying to keep them straight. But like we said, Glorious had a great week. They were able to go 2-0 this week, as they actually were able to defeat Descent on Black Heart Bay as well. What do you think about that game? Any kind of takebacks from it?
It was a pretty straightforward game. I didn't really think it stood out too much, especially in comparison to some of the other games we saw in this division. But it was a pretty straightforward game. Both teams were, in it, trying to do what they could.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play out for Descent very well. They're not having a real good time right now. And Glorious definitely fought for the win. So
yeah, I mean, Glorious had something like 5 bombardments in that match against 1. It
was pretty sided.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
It was one-sided. But again, now you're looking very similar to Snowflake. You have 2 new players, 2 good players, but new players nonetheless. You gotta get them into the team somehow,
Yeah. I might retouch that later. I have to do some research on the players a little bit, but I feel like the pickups for Glorious were more favored than they were for Snowflake, because I feel like Snowflake's system was probably a little more ironed out in as far as like, this is our set like plans in action, and if this falters, we're going to plan 2. Mm-hmm. As to where Glorious likes to freestyle a little bit, and I notice. But also, I don't know if anybody watched ZPs this week, but he was playing a lot of Tyrande on his stream, and he was playing in the Tyrande in the matches, so you could definitely see that he was preparing for it ahead of time.
Yeah.
You could kind of pick up on what he was going to do a little bit, even though he may have not announced it. I don't know if he did or not.
Mm-hmm. And then the last game would be Descent and Wildfire for Division 1 this past week. Yet again, kind of just I think Wildfire had a solid handle on the game through the whole thing.
I actually don't know if I got to see that one or not, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was busy with work stuff and I was trying to catch up on the game. Yep, I got halfway through it.
Mm-hmm. No, I rewatched this game 2 games this weekend. Nothing really stuck out as anything going wrong. It was just I think Wildfire was able to just kind of keep a hold on the lead throughout the match. Brendan, any thoughts on that match?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not on that one.
I think we didn't talk about it, but I think one interesting match, even though it was very cited, was Clairvoyant versus Tempest.
Yeah, we're going to move into Division 2.
Yep, you're right.
Right now.
I get my divisions mixed up, so go ahead.
No problem. So, Brendan, why don't you give everybody the quick rundown of what Division 2 looks like in terms of standings?
All right, so we got Symbiote at 4-1, ESV Tempest at 3-2, Clairvoyant Gaming at 3-2, and 2ARC at 0-5. But we gotta give 2ARC a little bit of a game because they came in late. So
came in late. They've only lost 2 games, and the first game they got was versus Symbiote. I mean,
yeah, jeez.
Welcome to the league, guys.
Let's talk about that game. Let's talk about.
Let's go
game,
put you against Symbiote.
All right, this is my favorite game of the week. All right, so we had Symbiote. Let's look at these picks and bads. All right, so we had Symbiote Gaming versus 2ARC. Let me find it here in the patch notes real quick.
Yep. I mean, so for bands, you had Stitches and Zeratul. So
yeah, we had Stitches and Zeratul, 2 good bands. All right, so we had on Symbiote, we had Arthas Tassadar, Rhaegar, Abathur, and Gazlo. On 2ARC, we had Kerrigan, ETC, Brightwing, and Taikasona. About, what would you say, 10 minutes into the game, Adam?
What happened?
When Symbiote went in for their push.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you mean hide the talents?
Yes. So we had the Gazlo. I forget the name. Sorry, but we had the Gazlo hiding his talents until they hit level 10. So at level 10, and I was listening to an interview this week, and the Gazlo had actually forgotten. He has been hiding his talents for a reason, but he had forgotten to take them right before they did their big push. So what happened was we had Gazlo take what's his ultimate?
The Graviton
Bomb? No.
Yes.
The Shredder. Yeah.
The Shredder.
Mm-hmm.
We had Goblin Shredder, we had Arthas with Syndragosa, we had what's his name? Tassadar with Archon, and Rhaegar with Bloodlust, and we had Abathur with his ultimate, which if you don't know what Abathur does, he copies a character. So what we had the whole team group up right at the inner gates, and we had a setup where Abathur copied Gazlo, and he finally picked his ult after they had actually copied, so the Abathur got it later. And we had a push for a win at about 10 minutes into the game at level 10. It was amazing.
Arthas, for anybody who did not see the game, you need to play it by play. Arthas drops Syndragosa on the fort and freezes it. The Gazlo pops the Shredder, and then Rhaegar Bloodlust, and they all jump on top of the fort and demolish it in like a half a second. And they start pushing towards the core, and then 2ARCs instantly they're on top of the other team's core, and they instantly see that, and then they recall back and then they have to fight them off, trying to get off the core from winning in like 20 seconds. It was quite a spectacle.
It was amazing. Like it's so hard to even talk about. It was you have to see it to like believe what was going on, but. Definitely, if you didn't get a chance to see that, you need to go back and watch that game because it was amazing.
Yeah, we also got to see ETC for the first time this season this week. What do you guys kind of think of that? Do you think it was good, bad, and different?
I think it was interesting, but I don't think it was as viable as people thought it was going to be. There were a couple of good mosh pit moments, but I don't really... I liked how overall we saw a different rotation of champion or heroes, but I don't really necessarily see ETC sticking around too much, just because I feel like, granted, Mosh Pit's amazing, but I don't know. I feel like his utility can be replaced.
Yeah. I feel without ETC, that push might have actually worked. With ETC's W, it pushes everyone away, and I think without that, it would have been a whole lot easier to engage on the core, and they might have actually been able to get it down. So I think ETC actually made a big difference in that game.
And then in their other game, 2Arc, is they took ETC in that game as well, and they lost to Tempest. It was a closer match, I'd say. It was kind of back and forth on Haunted Mines, and there were a couple times, I think twice, where we actually see ETC go in, knock people away instead of doing his mosh pit, and getting they AoE stun. So I think that was kind of an issue. I think you're almost asking for trouble when you have one ability that knocks people away, and your other ability, you need everybody clumped up really good. At this point.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Yeah.
Kind of a weird mixture.
Yeah. Anyways, so 2Arc, they came back from the push, and they almost pushed to win, but we had Symbiote come out back in the end and in the game. So that was a win for Symbiote.
Yep. And like I said, Tempest as well got the win over them. What were your thoughts on that game? I thought 2Arc had a better chance at winning this one in general because it was more. Maybe not better chance. I'm trying to think of the better word for it. I think they put up a really good fight in this game. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not quite using the right words. I can tell by Ben's look that I'm not really saying what I really mean to say.
Dude, you keep trucking, man. I'm serious.
No, I think it was a close game all the way through it. Not very. I didn't see anything that blew my mind, but overall a good equal game. Yeah.
So, but I mean, in the end, 2Arc ends up 0-5. I'm kind of see what they're going to do for next week. I think hopefully they'll kind of change their strategy up because obviously the ETC strategy didn't work. I think one of the casters was really talking about how ETC these strategies are a little in the older meta, a little bit, 1 or 2 steps earlier or something like that he was talking about, and people know how to play against it.
And for 2Arc, sorry Ben, but for 2Arc coming in as late as they have, their games have been really solid. I haven't seen very many major mistakes out of them. I think they'll come back this week and polish that and be able to pull out a couple wins, I think. So.
Let's see. We also have Tempest versus Clairvoyant Gaming.
Tempest versus Clairvoyant. Oh, that was the last. No,
that was on Monday. That was one of the Monday matches. What are your thoughts on it, Ben? Did you get a chance to watch it?
Absolutely. It was a pretty one-sided match for CG, but Tempest had, even though the Tempest had the first tribute grabs, it didn't really play out too well in their favor towards the end, just because Sergeant Hammer and Gazlo, Tempest allowed them to set up. When you take Hammer and Gazlo, like, you're kind of playing a risk. You can do really amazing things, but you have to set up. You have to drop your turrets. You have to let Hammer get into a siege position and so on, and that decreases mobility. But they allowed them to do it. They weren't able to jump on top of them and really capitalize. So Hammer and Gazlo got set up and just kept pushing and dropping bodies like crazy, and CG was able to pull it out.
Yeah. Clairvoyant did a really good job of protecting the Hammer, and if you're gonna protect the Hammer, you're usually gonna win because Sergeant Hammer can just tear down forts so easily.
Yeah, that's why when I'm playing against Hammer, I always, because I play Stitches a lot, and obviously he gets banned a lot, but he didn't get banned here. I like to play him just because you can get the fish hooks, so you can get the really long hook and be able to pull Hammer out of his protection if you can get the right angle in the right spot. Granted, in the pro scene, it's probably a little bit harder because they're really protecting him. But for me, that's been the only way I've been able to handle kind of Hammer in general. I really like seeing kind of the Gazlo Hammer mix.
Since when did Hammer become a guy?
Man, stop
it's
it, man. I'm like, I can. You're throwing me off, Ben. I can see your face, and you're like, I can see said something wrong, and I'm like, oh no. So she, she.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
The glasses are on.
You know, I think Gaslo does a great job of protecting her with his turrets.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to get in on them. You have turrets and landmines to get through.
How do you guys feel about Hammer in the meta at the moment?
Meta. What is this word?
There's no
right now in the
game
alpha.
Right now.
I play Hammer off and on a little bit. I'm trying to put her in my rotation a little bit. I like her. I like what she can do. Even though I play her, I still feel like the whole protect Hammer thing is a little broken, just because of the fact that she gets graduating range. She can sit back and just wail on anybody even remotely trying to get close. And I started taking the wall now when I do the concussive blast and it forms the wall. I actually played against Liquid Chef like an hour ago, and he was a Nova, and there was a Zeratul working with him, and the Zeratul kept trying to jump on top of me, and I would blast the Zeratul back, and it would form the wall, and the Zeratul couldn't get past the wall, and I would drop spider mines right behind the wall. So as soon as he tried to come around, the mines would just attack him, and napalm strike, done. He was dead.
Oh, napalm strike.
I feel like she's just. I don't know how we'll change her, but she's really strong.
So I have a question. Do you think that the hover mode should just be built into her kit? Because I feel like when I play Hammer, I have to take that.
So here's the thing: I feel like everybody takes the hover mode. If we put it into the kit, I feel like we're just making her by default broken.
Right.
Okay.
Like just
so
by
should we
default.
take it out of the game? That's the other question, because Blizzard says they don't want talents that you feel like you have to tank, right?
I've never seen ever since it came in, I haven't seen anybody choose otherwise. I mean, number one, it does kind of defeat the whole purpose of a siege tank. Like, siege tanks are supposed to deploy and not be able to move. That's a question we could really debate on for a while. I'd like to see it without, just for a while, to see what happens. But I'm not so sure if I want to see it permanently gone, because, I take it, and I like for the fact that if I'm aggressing on somebody's fort and I have somebody else with me, and a Zeratul and a Nova and a Kerrigan come out of nowhere, I don't have to, immediately be like, okay, well, I'm screwed. I can if I start to see them, I can slowly start to back up. But almost always in those kind of cases, I hit E and hit Z and I just, glide away.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like it's a necessary talent at this point in the game. So, I don't know if it should stay.
Yeah,
Alright.
I don't play a lot of Hammer. I played her a couple times just to try her out, and I definitely took siege mode. I'm like, the hover mode, why wouldn't you want to move while... I mean, just for pushing a lane, you could, if you mess up on your placement of your E, you can nudge yourself just a little bit. It makes her a little easier to play because if you miss something.
Yep, it's an ease of use talent, which is really good.
Okay, and I believe the last game that we have yet to talk about this week was Clairvoyant game versus Symbiote. Clairvoyant was able to give Symbiote their first loss of the season. Did either of you guys? I forget who said Clairvoyant last week was going to give them their loss. Was it? Either of you guys? I forget at this point. We need to start writing these predictions down so we can give proper credit.
Get on it, dude.
I think that was Diamond.
Diamond?
To be honest.
It might have been. I think a couple people said that, because I don't think obviously no one picked Excelsior, and that means there were two teams at a choice of.
Well, then give that man $1.
So, Clairvoyant versus Symbiote. Brandon, what were your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts on this game is Clairvoyant. They had a solid team fight all the way through. That's why they won. I didn't ever see an engage from Clairvoyant that was not thought through, and I feel like that's what won them the game. And the fact that they had utter complete control of the objective on the map. I mean, I don't think I saw Symbiote turn in once. So and this was on Black Card's base. So
No, an excellently played game by Clairvoyant. It was a fun game to watch because I was at any point I was like Symbiote can easily turn this one around. At any point I was like Symbiote could win this. Be ready for it. We're gonna be talking about how Symbiote was down and they came back, and but obviously they did not. Ben,
one thing that I saw in that game that really, and this is totally cosmetic, but when Zeratul puts down his Void Prism and Barbarian jumps into it, that looks amazing because it catches Barb in the air like she's about to fly, and then it cancels it. So yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Imagine if it was like a delay of it, so you jump in and then as soon as it's done, you slam over.
It used to be. They actually fixed that, or they said it was a bug, and it was almost broken because you could you could go
offensively.
Yeah, you could use it offensively, so you could get everybody in a Void Shift, the Zeratul on your team, and then jump in, and as everybody came out of the Void Shift, they were all stunned, and you just cleaned up shop. So yeah, definitely.
Ben, any thoughts on the Clairvoyant game or Symbiote game?
I just think that CG proved that Symbiote's not immortal, and now we're about to start seeing everybody swinging next week.
It's like once you see how to beat them, then everyone's going to start doing what Clairvoyant did. But then again, you're relying on the random map pool as well, because at that point, because you don't know what map you're going to get.
And that is the one thing that's keeping this interesting.
Yeah,
I cannot wait, because I think once we get to choose maps, then it's not going to just be best of one. You have to do best of three once we can pick the maps, though, because
you're going to have a double Robo Goblin Bloodlust is what you're going to have.
With Arthas Sandrigosa. That was insane, man. Ugh.
Okay.
Made me giddy.
So, as of right now, for next week, we have 6 games scheduled for Monday. So I don't know if that's going to be the only games of the week, or if they just haven't decided who's going to be playing on Tuesday. So let's go ahead and kind of give our predictions for the week. Remember, it's going to be Monday, September 8th, which is tomorrow at 10 p.m. UTC. Let's take a look. So we have Symbiote Gaming versus ESV Tempest. I'm pretty confident that Symbiote's going to come back and win this game. I don't think we're going to see another loss. Actually, I'll even say, because they're playing 2 Arc as well, I'm going to say they win both their games next week. What do you guys think?
They're an analytical group. They're going to come back. They're going to analyze what happened to give them their first loss, and they're going to try to prove something. So,
yeah, I think they're done messing around. They're going to come back this next week and clean up. They know what it feels like to lose now. They don't want that to happen again.
Now, we have Glorious and Wildfire playing each other. Now, this past week, those were the 2 teams that were able to defeat Snowflake. Who do you think is going to win, Ben?
I'm going to say Glorious is going to take that one. It's going to be a good fought-out one, but Glorious is going to take it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Glorious on this one. I feel like Wildfire has a hard time ending games. As we saw from the Snowflake match, I think Glorious is a whole lot better at ending games. So I think we're going to see Glorious come.
I'd say if anybody does their homework, though, and watches ZP's stream, depending on how he plays this week, if you watched his stream before the matches, you could kind of tell what heroes he was going to play going into these. So I don't know if he'll give his hand again or not, but it depends on how analytical you are and how much you observe things. Not everybody can pick that out of somebody playing, but we'll see what happens.
See, I'm just going to go opposite of you guys just to go opposite. I'm going to go with Wildfire. I have to. I can't let everybody agree on one thing.
That's fine. You do what you got to do.
Wildfire,
you can be wrong. Yeah, it's fine.
And Wildfire was able to beat them in week 1. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
This is true. They're I don't know if I want to say they're evenly matched, but they're pretty decently on par. So definitely make for some good games.
Now, do we see 2 Arc getting their first win against Clairvoyant this week?
I hope so. I want to see 2 Arc do good. I feel like they had kind of a bad card coming into this game, this tournament with missing their first 2 games. their first 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see them come back and throw throw a wrench in all the other teams' plans. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with 2-Art.
I hope that they come out and kind of dethrone a little bit, but it's all a matter of whether or not they can really take apart what they did wrong and put it back together and make some good picks. I don't feel like ETC was a good idea, and I feel like hopefully that they rework their picks and come out a little bit harder, because I'd like to see them do well, especially coming in as an underdog status. It'd be nice to see them kind of come back up. So.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I want to see 2-Arc do well, but I think Clairvoyant's got this one. I mean, you want to see 2-Arc do well. I don't want to see anyone do badly, but I don't think I put Clairvoyant as the number 2, if not, possibly the number 1 team in the league if they're able to kind of beat Symbiote a couple times, So I think Clairvoyant is going to take it at this point.
Now, hopefully, though, beating Symbiote doesn't let it go to their heads, and therefore,
It'll set them up
they
for the
fall
loss.
off the ladder. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Glorious and Snowflake. Snowflake gets their rematch right away this week. First, on Monday. Glorious able to repeat what they did this past week, or do you think Snowflake comes back, looking at the tape and saying, "You know what? We know what to do to beat Glorious this week."
I think Snowflake's gonna come back. I think with Idra on the team, they're gonna just mentally be there. They know that they can lose now, and I think they're gonna try not to let that happen again. So I'm gonna go with Snowflake.
Snowflake, Ben.
Yep.
I think Idra's going to be mad, so he's going to come back ready to play, and I definitely see them not losing all their games. That's all I'm going to say on that one. I don't really know, but I see him being kind of mad and having one of them team talks, being like, "All right, you losers, we got to fix this."
Man, it's like the talks we have all the time.
I know, right?
I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to call you losers again.
Sometimes I should probably just pick mine first, and then I don't have to be like, "Oh well, I'm going to go against both of them."
I'm going to go with this one.
But I'm going to agree with you guys. I think Snowflake's going to come back and win this week. I don't think we're going to see them. I think that would be 3 losses in a row for them, and I just don't see it happening. I don't think it's possible.
No, I hope not. I like Snowflake.
Mm-hmm. And then, like I said earlier, 2-Arc is playing Symbiote again, so I think Symbiote's gonna win that game. See, I got to get that in there.
So, what do you guys think? Do you think Symbiote's going to try something a little bit crazy this week again?
I hope they do.
Me too. I love it, man.
It's so good to watch.
Yeah, I think they're crowd pleasers definitely, and I think they're damn good at it. So I think Symbiote's going to take this one this week.
Mm-hmm. I assume Ben agrees with us. Or do you want 2-Arc to go 2-0?
I would love to see that. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. Symbiote's looking really good. Mm-hmm. They don't mess up a whole lot of things. They play really consistent. And that's kind of the key to winning in the long game. So I don't necessarily know that 2-Arc's going to go 2-0. I would like them to, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And then our last game of Monday night will be Tempest versus Clairvoyant. I'm going to go with Clairvoyant. I'm saying Clairvoyant's going 2-0 this week.
Tempest is going to be mad because of the whole one-sided victory by Sergeant Hammer and Gazlo, so they're gonna come back.
Come out swinging.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Clairvoyant's got this one. Their team fights are just too mentally thought out, and before they engage, they will not engage if they don't feel like they can win. And I think Clairvoyant's going to take that one.
And then, lastly, as a bonus match, are the sunglasses going to win or not? Because apparently they make me look douchey.
I'm not sure. It all depends on what Ben we want to talk to.
I know, right?
Okay, well that does it for this week's Nexus eSports. Now, Ben, why don't you let people know where they can get a hold of you?
You can always find me Friday nights here at 10 p.m. Eastern for Heroes of the Nexus podcast, which is our standard news and discussion show on Heroes of the Storm. Every Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern for our Heroes eSports Nexus show. And then on Twitter, at Stacks and Packs, it's STAKSNPAKS. If you want to get my battle tag or anything like that, you can just hit me up on there and, talk to where we need to do.
Mm-hmm. And Brendan, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TriumphWow. You can whisper me or you can ask me for my battle tag on Twitter. That's mostly where I hang out. I'm here on Friday night or on Sunday nights with these guys talking some esports. Other than that, nowhere.
Brandon, I'm gonna whisper you on Twitter.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna whisper you right now.
Do it.
Well, you can reach me.
I didn't even know you could do that.
You can reach
I just
me
made it up.
at Geek of Random.
It's a new thing.
On Twitter, and the show directly at the Nexus Podcast, where you can ask us questions about esports, news, views, anything Heroes related. We'll send it to the right show, and we'll answer your questions. You can email us also at show@heroesofTheNexus.com. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, remember, we do record Sundays, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, at twitch.tv/heroesofTheNexus. We're officially on iTunes, Stitcher. You can find us in the Windows Marketplace, YouTube, all over the place. So please, rate us. Let us know what you think of the show. We're members of Catalyst Gaming Media, where you can find bloggers, podcasters, video content creators. It's an excellent place at catalystgamingmedia.com. I want to thank everyone for coming, everyone for listening. It was a great week, so we're looking forward to the week ahead for esports. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.